Hi there, it's Nicole for Simon Says Stamp, and this is the Create Joy blog hop. I have used the Ready Set Snow stamps and dies here with some other exclusive stamps and dies from Simon Says Stamp for this winter holiday themed card. To start, I am taking a piece of Tim Holtz watercolor cardstock. This is A2 sized already, so it's 5.5 inches by 4.25 inches. And I'm applying the new Blueprint Sketch Distress ink to probably 2/3 of this piece of cardstock, blending it in. And then on the last 1/3 of the cardstock, I'm going to apply some peacock feathers. And I'm going to blend these two together really well. Only a bit of this peacock feathers is actually going to be shown. I'm going to place a wavy scallop along the bottom for some snow to help ground the two little kids that I'm going to be placing on this card. I'm going to go ahead and go back with my Blueprint Sketch Distress ink now and blend that into the peacock feathers really well. I want it to be a pretty seamless transition between the two colors, so I'm overlapping here a little bit. Once I have those inks nice and blended, I am going to ink up the Simon Says Stamp Falling Snow stamp. This is a great background stamp with the Simon Says Stamp white pigment ink. And I'm going to stamp that on the background to give the illusion of falling snow. I love this stamp. It's one of my very favorite background stamps from Simon Says Stamp. Going to make sure I get that pressed really nice. Go ahead and pop that up, and I'm going to set the background aside now so that pigment ink dries. I'm inking up the girl and boy images plus accessories with Memento Tuxedo Black ink and stamping them on some Neenah Solar White cardstock. This is the 80-pound cardstock that I like to use for Copic coloring. The Memento Tuxedo Black ink is great because it will not bleed when using Copic markers. I'm going to go ahead and stamp all the images that I want to use here. I love the little hats and earmuffs and scarves and things. Great accessory pieces that you can use with these cute little stamps. I'm loving that seasonally Simon has come out with these cute, either the girl or the girl and boy images. There's some summer themed ones and a spring themed one, and I just think they're so super fun. Really adorable. I'm going to start coloring in my images with Copic markers. I'm going to speed through this pretty good simply because there's quite a bit of coloring so that you still get to see the whole process of the coloring, but just definitely speed it up a lot. It probably took me about 45 minutes total to actually color these in without putting any of the rest of the card together. I'm feathering in the hair here. The colors I'm using are listed along the bottom of the screen to make it easy. If you are wondering exactly what I'm using, little reference there. They also are linked below the video here on YouTube and linked to multiple sources on my blog, which you can also get to here from YouTube. I'm coloring in her coat with some reds. This is my red combination I think that I use for everything. I love R24, R46, and R39. I started with my base color of R24 and then skipped to my darkest color, the R39, and I'm just kind of tracing around the coat there. And then going in and blending out that darkest color with R46. And then I'll go back with the R24 and blend that out until I get a nice seamless transition. And I went over it a few times. You want to be a little careful with reds. Sometimes they tend to bleed outside that color line if you oversaturate the paper, but I tried to be really careful with that. For the collar and the buttons on her coat, I did go in with a little warm grays simply to give them a tiny bit of color, but I want to keep those fairly white. I decided to color in her boots with the red markers as well. Nice bright pop of color. Again, coloring in the buttons with those warm gray markers. I'm going to make sure her earmuffs are red as well. I decided to really kind of keep with a simple color scheme for the outfits for these kids. With the bright blue background, I wanted something that was really going to pop. So I thought the red looked really nice against that. It gives it that holiday feel, but this definitely wouldn't have to be a holiday card. You could just send it anytime during the winter. Go ahead and color in the skin on the little boy. And again, color in his hair here. I decided to go just a shade lighter than the girl's hair and only use the two lighter colors, E31 and E55. I'm using a little Stardust gel pen on the earmuffs for a little bit of glitz and glimmer. Also used a little bit of those on the buttons on her coat. I'm going to color in his hat. Instead of reaching for a bunch of different colors of markers, I kind of just kept with what I actually had on my desk. So this is the E31, E55, and E57, which made coloring in his little hat here super easy because those markers were out for the hair. Again, going to do some red coloring for his jacket and keep the little shirt that he has on underneath white. Most of his hair is going to be covered up with that hat. One of my reasons for not going overboard with feathering in his hair, since a lot of it's going to be covered up with that cute little cap. Again, went in with my base color, the R24, then my darkest color, the R39, traced around a lot of the stamp lines and things like that, and then blended it with R46 and blended it out more, again with my lightest color, the R24. R24 is by far my favorite red color. Now for his pants, I chose to go with khaki pants. They're colored with E31 and E55, a tiny bit of E57 where the jacket meets the pants for shading and shadowing. My E31 is a little dry. I needed to order a refill, which I did promptly after coloring in this cute image because I found that my E31 is definitely drying out. I'm going to go ahead and pop the coordinating Ready Set Snow dies over these images here. I did find that the earmuffs, maybe the die didn't fit exactly. Close enough though, it didn't bother me. I'm going to lay out those pieces. I haven't colored in his shoes yet. I decided to go ahead and cut them out. I wanted to see how they looked on the card base. Chose to just go with some basic black for his shoes. Y8, Y6, or not Y, W8, W6, and W1. These are the warm grays. The W1 is going to give that light little highlight on the toe portion of his shoes. I also used the Sakura black gel pen on the eyes to really make them pop. And then I'm going to add those hats and the earmuffs to my little boy and girl. Go ahead and color in the scarf real quick as well. I kind of held off coloring it in. I wasn't sure which of the little kids I was going to put it on, the boy or the girl, and I chose to put it on the girl, so I did go ahead and color it in red. I probably would have colored it in red regardless, but I waited because I wasn't quite sure who I wanted to put it on. Glue that in place. I'm using acrylic blocks to hold those little pieces down and hold them flat until the liquid glue dries. And then I'll pop that cute cap on the boy and let those dry for a second, and then I can go ahead and start putting together the rest of the card. I'm going to die cut some smooth white cardstock using the Simon Says Stamp wavy border die. This is a little different than a traditional stitched border die. It has that great little scallop. It's a wavy scallop border die, I guess I should say. And I just like the little decorative edge to it. I think it's kind of pretty. I die cut it. It's 5.5 inches wide, and I can just trim off the excess. But I'm going to place everything where I want it to go, and then grab the greeting that says Warm Winter Wishes. And I'm going to stamp that along the bottom using some Simon Says Stamp black dye ink. I'm going to pick that up with my acrylic block and stamp that. And then I can go ahead and attach that border along the bottom of my background card panel. Before I do that, I am going to take the snowflake from the Ready Set Snow stamp set, ink it up with that white pigment ink again, and go ahead and stamp some random snowflakes in the background. So not only do I have that great falling snow on the background, but these cute little snowflakes. And as that pigment ink dries, it will kind of absorb into the paper a little bit more, like those little round snowflake dots from where I stamped the falling snow. I'm going to trim off that excess on both sides of the wavy scallop border, add some adhesive on the back of the boy and the girl, and pop them right there on my card. Now you might notice I left her hands, I hadn't colored in her hands yet. I couldn't decide if I wanted to stamp the mittens that come with the Ready Set Snow stamp set or color in her hands, so I purposely left that to the end and to decide. And I did decide I wanted to color in the mittens, so I stamped those and colored them in, and then I'm going to die cut them. I did find that the die does not fit the stamp design, which is a little unfortunate, so I had to stamp them twice and die cut them separately. I'm going to add some of that Wink of Stella Stardust glitter pin to the cap, and then draw some little lines on the scarf. That's going to be really subtle. It's much easier to see in real life, but it gives a really fun look to the scarf and kind of differentiates it from the rest of her red and white outfit. And then I'll attach this whole card panel to the front of a Simon Says Stamp top fold card base. I love these card bases. They are already pre-cut to the standard A2 size. There's both side folding and top folding. And finally, I'm going to finish with some pretty pink Posh clear droplets. These are the 4mm size, and just add a little touch of fun and dimension to the background of my card. Thanks for watching this video showcasing stamps and dies from the Simon Says Stamp Create Joy release. The supplies I've used are listed and linked below the video on YouTube. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.